When you think about Kentucky originals in the food industry, you may think about a man by the name of Colonel Sanders. 11 herbs and spices, he did okay with Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, another iconic brand is a Louisville original, and that is Derby Pie. We're all familiar with it, we all love it. And these guys, hey, it's a family business. With me now is Rebecca and Matt Roop. And it is a family business, and it is iconic. First of all, I guess we'll kick it off this way, Rebecca. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, it's been going on for quite some time, I think, and clarify for me, was it 1954?
Yes, 1954 is when the pie originated. It was actually the same year my dad was born, so we always knew how old the pie was based on how old my dad was. So.
And you can't talk about Derby Pie, Matt, without talking about your father. Alan Roop really took that famous recipe and grew it, much like Colonel Sanders and Governor John Y. Brown. They get together and they say, okay, we're going to franchise this. In your case, your dad was kind of the leader of, okay, we're going to make this bigger than anyone could imagine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they went from making 4 pies in a home oven to now we've got 3 80 pie ovens running all year round. So it's quite the operation. He grew it immensely. So, and I kind of grew up seeing it grow as I grew up.
So if you would detail a little bit, Rebecca, about the history. From what I understand, Melrose Inn was involved. Talk to me about its beginnings and where it is now.
Sure. So Walter and Leandra Kern, our great-grandparents and great-uncle, George, they started at Melrose Inn. They were managing the Melrose Inn kitchen, and they wanted to come up with a signature dessert that they found unique and gave that homey feeling, like you're having grandma's fresh-baked pie. So they came up with the chocolate walnut pie that we have. After that, they couldn't decide on a name, so everybody put their name in a hat, and one evening they sat out on the Melrose front porch and drew Derby Pie out of a hat, and that's where it all started.
Wow, that name, I mean, really, a lot of people say it is all in a name at times, with a business and why it takes off, and it's catchy, and everyone knows about the excitement of Kentucky Derby. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but you cannot have a Derby party without a Derby pie, right?
It's essential. It's absolutely essential, yeah.
I agree with you. So was there an epiphany moment, Matt, where maybe they said, oh, we've got something here? Was there a number that perhaps you hit as far as manufacturing these pies that you go, okay, this is taking off, now we've got something that we can really grow?
Yeah, I think when we moved in to our first facility where we had a big 80 pie oven, things started to get serious. We started to get partnerships with Churchill Downs and local restaurants, and it was really just taking off throughout the city and becoming a Derby tradition. So
I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because I think it's interesting. When you say Derby Pie, you guys have relationships that are directly related to the Derby. You mentioned Churchill Downs, of course, the Kentucky Derby Festival. Talk about the importance of that and how those partnerships help you grow, Rebecca.
Having those true relationships is just very big in growing our industry, and just being present at those events and being present at Churchill Downs during the Derby, and they'll serve 25,000 slices of just Derby pie during that season. So it's just something really big that we enjoy, building those relationships and being authentic and having those great relationships with our partners, and just continuing that throughout the years.
It's something I think all Louisvillians are very proud of. When we have Derby guests in, it's like, you have to have a Derby pie, and you have to have the real thing Derby pie, because there is a difference. Before we talk about that, this may be a tough subject for both of you, Rebecca, Matt. Your father. I get a little choked up, and he's not my father, because he is someone that I think Louisville absolutely loved and was proud of the fact that not only did he have this fantastic product, but he was an ambassador for Louisville. Talk a little bit, man, if you would, about his legacy.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we're still kind of struggling through that, but excited to kind of continue his legacy here at Derby Pie. But yeah, he was just a man of Kentucky. He loved Louisville, he loved the state, he loved all the traditions here in town. Anywhere he went, he connected with people and kind of just helped continue Kentucky's story. Whether he was at the Bristol Bar and Grill grabbing a drink, or down at the Brown Hotel, he was always about Kentucky. So yeah, we miss him immensely.
Oh, he was so charismatic. He drew people to him, which is great to draw. To me, if you're creating a brand and you want it to grow, that's the kind of guy. He's the front man, and you two also. I can tell it's in your DNA. You're very passionate about it. Yes. Let's talk about numbers, because I think it's impressive that you ship all over the country. Talk about how much your company in Derby Pie has grown, Rebecca.
As immensely. So, like Matt said before, we went from making, great grandma would make 2 to 4 a day to now to making 12 a day to 24 a day, and now we're making 18 to 2,400 a day. So that does really amp up during Derby season. We can do about 50,000 just during that Derby season. That's our big season, but we do, that's just a small portion of what we do throughout the year. So it's grown from one oven baking 4 pies at a time to 3 ovens baking 80 pies at a time.
Woo. So, Matt, I'm interested in this because when I say your dad was an ambassador, obviously the two of you remain ambassadors of Louisville. You give back as well. We talked before the cameras came on, and you mentioned sending pies to troops, et cetera. The brand extends beyond the table, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we love the city. We love to represent the city. So we love to give back to the community as well. A lot of times when we overbake or underbake something, we can't necessarily sell those, but they're still delicious to eat, and so we'll donate those. We've got a lot of charities in town that we love to support. Apron was a charity that my dad really loved and supported, so we continue to support them.
I love that. Yeah. Absolutely love that. So now let's talk a little bit about what separates a Derby pie from your average chocolate, walnut, chocolate, pecan. First of all, I think the walnuts are important because that's indigenous to Kentucky and Louisville specifically. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about the ingredients. I know it's a lot like the Colonel. You can't give me the secret, but there is something, and I can't identify it, which you're probably happy that I cannot, that makes a Derby pie more delicious than anything anyone can make in their own kitchen.
I think the biggest thing is we make our own dough. So we've still got that homey grandma rolling the dough, that individuality of pressing and making our own dough in-house. I think that crispy, just flaky crust is so important, and that's what we pride ourselves on as well, is having that dough. That's a big thing too.
And even though we're baking so much more now, it's a hands-on process. We're still cracking our own eggs. We hand sort our own walnuts. We take great pride in putting out a quality product, and that doesn't change just because we make more of them now. So
I think a topic that's interesting for not just you at Kern's Kitchen and Derby Pie, but I think anyone who is in a business is protecting your brand. Imitation, obviously, the most sincere form of flattery. We all know that cliche, but it is. Everyone tries to duplicate what you do, and I know it was important to your father, and it should be, and I know it is important to you. Talk about, if you would, Matt, perhaps you could tell me about protecting the brand and the importance of that.
Yeah, it's very important. Like any company, you want to protect your own interests, and I mean, Derby Pie is a special thing in Kentucky and Louisville, and started with our family, and it's a registered trademark. So we're the only ones that can make a pie and call it Derby Pie, and so we do need to protect that. But yeah, like you said, it is kind of a flattering thing that people would try to replicate it, but just from a business perspective, that's something that we need to protect, and we always tell people to, they can make anything they want, just don't call it Derby Pie, and leave that to the professionals. So.
Yeah, exactly right. Leave that to the people who originated it and continue to grow that audience and people who love Derby Pie. What is the vision at this point? Rebecca, you're the president. I'm curious, when you think about 10 years down the road, what do you and Matt, how do you envision Kern's Kitchen and Derby Pie growing?
I think continuing that authenticity that my dad built, that was very important to him. So continuing to be our authentic selves and keeping the pie and the tradition alive. There's a lot of history here, but there's also a lot of tradition that we want to continue. 10 years down the road, we want to still be making and bringing everybody, bring the pie to the people and have everybody have that pillar of Kentucky still at their table.
It's one of the points of pride. We talk about, being, the home of bourbonism and bourbon tourism and all that. But Derby Pie has that also, it connects me to Louisville. Mm-hmm. If I am, and I can be in any grocery store in the country and see Derby Pie, which is fantastic the way it's grown. And I'm proud of that. And I can't imagine how proud you are. So there's one thing left to do here. First of all, I'm going to end it like we started it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then can we try this pie?
Absolutely.
We could probably grab a slice for you. Yeah.
Ooh, I love that. All right, here we go. This is the fun part of the interview. All right, this is what I've been waiting for. Okay, I said I'm not going to visit Kern's Kitchen and not enjoy some Derby Pie. Mm. So, do you prefer? I don't mind if it's cold, warm. What's the correct way to serve this?
Yeah, we think the best way to serve it is oven warmed. But to be honest, I like it anyway. I like to eat it like a candy bar slice, frozen as well. So, but oven warmed with a little whipped cream, I think is the best way to eat derby pie.
Okay, I don't think this is your first rodeo. I would imagine you guys have tasted quite a few derby pies, but will you partake with me?
Absolutely.
So I can say that I had derby pie with one of the family members, with two of the family members, the Roops, Rebecca and Matt, and so this is kind of this will make it even more memorable. But I've got a feeling the taste is what's going to do it for me here. There's nothing like it. The walnuts, everything mixes perfectly, doesn't it? Just a little subtle. There's nothing that overwhelms any other flavor. Oh, that chocolate hits you just right. You know, when you talk about bourbon, you talk about, you know, on the back, they say on the back end, that smooth chocolate with the walnut on the back end, that chocolate just kind of eases it all down. You know?
It balances out for sure.
And I did want to mention this. Derby pie is the official pie of the Kentucky Derby Festival, right?
Yes, yes, we have a long-standing partnership with them.
That is a big deal.
Great relationship, yeah.
Again, congratulations, and thank you so much for having a little pie with me. That's a southern, that's
Thank
a
you.
southern
Thanks for
hospitality
coming by.
thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep. So it's a secret recipe. So we've got a curtain that goes all the way around the mixing room. So the production manager is the only one allowed in there. So can't go in there. So we hand sort all our own walnuts just to make sure there's only walnuts going into the pie. When you get something with nuts in it and on the packaging it says may contain shell pieces, well, they don't sort through their walnuts, so that's why we sort through to make sure that you're getting a quality product. It's a little tedious, but especially now that we make a lot more pies, but it's definitely worth it. So this is the fill going in the pie after it's gone through the secret recipe in the curtained room. And Jeremiah here is filling the pies, and then we'll put them right in the oven. So this is our original oven that we started with our first 80 pie oven, and now we have 3 of them. We can take a look inside and see what's going on. So these are just starting out. So we'll have to come back here in a few minutes and see how they're doing. And this is our newest oven. You can see these are a little bit further along. Smells good. So this is an oven change. Taking out the freshly baked pies and putting in the new oven to bake. So this is a rotary oven, so the shells just rotate to get a nice even bake. This is where we package everything up. So we take a look, make sure everything looks good. Looks good to me. This here. We run it through a laser dater and straight through the shrink wrap machine. And there you have it. That's the final product. And then we just put it in the box. We fill these up and put them in the big freezer and ship them all over the country.
What a fantastic name, Derby Pie. But for a while it was a little up in the air on what to name this delicious pie. With me now is another member of the family, the Roop family. This is Ann. Okay, Ann. Tell me a little bit about how finally the decision was made. Derby Pie's the name.
Well, they were sitting around one evening and they had to come up with a name for the signature dessert for Melrose Inn where it started. And they all put a name in a hat, and Derby Pie was the one that came out.
Can you help me a little bit with maybe some of the other choices? Obviously you made the right choice, but were there other names that maybe were in the running that, okay, but not quite Derby Pie?
I think there was a Finish Line Pie, maybe the Melrose Pie, but I think they picked the right one. I think it was just fate.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. There's no question about it. You mentioned something to me, and I have to bring it up. When I walked in the door, it's like, oh, it smells so good. And you said you never get used to it, that to you every day it means something to you. Talk to me about that.
Well, every morning I walk in and I smell that pie baking, and it just smells like Grandma's kitchen. It smells like my mom and my grandmother and all the love that they had for their family, and that was how they showed their love. You know, they cooked for the family, And so every morning I walk in and I feel their love.
Ah, so that's the secret ingredient of Derby pie. A little bit of love,
A little bit of love, a lot of love.
lot of love.
A lot of love, a lot of family.
So there we go. There's the secret ingredient, a lot of love. And it does not have to be Derby time. It doesn't have to be the first week in May for you to participate and enjoy Derby pie in your home.